All right, we're back. This is Sid Owsley for the third installment today of the Determination Determines Destination podcast, the 3Ds to Success, where we share stories of people who use the 3Ds to success. Determination determines destination to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. And today I have Mr. Mike Mezmer. Mike is an internationally recognized expert in the field of hypnosis. He's also a clinical hypnotherapist and certified stress management consultant. NBC TV named him one of the world's top hypnotists. He developed a powerful program to combat the mental challenges caused by the current pandemic. Is CovidNosis Hypnotherapy, the ultimate pandemic relief program, is specifically designed to support helping people in finding powerful solutions to the mental challenges of the pandemic. Mike has appeared on national news outlets and recently featured on Fox, CBS, and NBC. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thank you so much, Sid. I'm so excited to be with you today.
It's great having you. And this subject of hypnotherapy it sounds very interesting. And this program that you have, the ultimate pandemic relief, this sounds very interesting. And so I would like you to tell us your story of using what I call the 3Ds: determination determines destination, to overcome obstacles and challenges in your life.
Sure. I think all of us have our own unique destination and journey to that destination. And mine was unique too in many respects. I grew up in Southern California and in a middle-class home, essentially. My dad was a hardworking dad. My mom was at home being a good mom. But the thing about my destination was I always had a dream, because I knew from when I was very young that I wanted to be in front of people and wanted to entertain people. I know that sounds different than hypnotherapy, but they're very much related in a lot of ways. But I'll tell you the journey and how I got to where I am now. So when I was very young, my first professional show was when I was 7 years old, and I was in a paid performance in a touring show of The Wizard of Oz. I grew up with my brothers. My oldest brother played drums for Chubby Checker and Little Richard, and also had his own band. And so I grew up with that. And then my middle brother, he was a Broadway star, nominated for Tony Awards on Broadway and won Theater World Awards, and even had a TV series on NBC back in the day. So it was a very unusual life, and that I was sort of the last brother. And so especially my middle brother, was always the golden child, with my folks. Mm-hmm. And so, because he was doing all these amazing things. So, going through my life, I was always different, because I was always expected to be a little adult. And because of that, there was a lot of friction between other kids at school and me, not because I wanted it, but because they just saw me as different. And I think when people see something as different, they sort of reject it, or think I don't know if they're frightened of it, reject, or they just don't like the idea. But it made it very difficult for me, because I would be going to school, and not in a braggadocious way at all, but people say, "What did you do for the weekend?" Well, I was on the set of Dark Shadows for the whole day, or I was at CBS goofing around on Gilligan's Island for the day, and it's like you like, wow, what is this guy about? He's a liar. He's just a liar. They would think I was lying. And I don't blame them now, looking back as an adult. It sounded pretty crazy, or I met Sammy Davis Jr. last weekend, or, it's strange. It's bizarre. Most kids that were like me were in a private school or in a school for, show business kids, but I was just in your normal school. And so kids really just thought I was off the wall. But it wasn't a matter of bragging. It wasn't a matter of that. It was just, that was my life, and it seemed normal to me. So I've always been an outsider. And I think, just to go a little sideways from my story for a moment, for instance, now I do a lot of work with the LGBTQ community with hypnotherapy and that, because I really relate to people that are different, because I've always been different. And so, but along the journey, as wanting to be an entertainer, I worked very hard, and it was a challenge, because my parents didn't have a lot of money. I said middle class, but in magic, which is the part of my career that I started in, it's a very expensive endeavor. And my parents just didn't have the money to help me get expensive illusions and things to make me have the best edge in that industry as I grew up. So I had to build my own illusions, learn to build my own equipment, and learn to create my own magic, which was good in the end, because that's what makes an excellent, an excellent entertainer or excellent in anything in business. I mean, I always go back to that saying that Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone said. He said, being like everybody is the same as being nobody. I said that one more time. Being like everybody is the same as being nobody. And I've always lived by that as an adult, because in my journey, that's how it always was. I was never like anybody because I always was striving to be somebody. And so I went along. I met my first wife, and I got together when we were just 16 and 17, not married at that time. But she was the inspiration for me to move ahead with my career. And she made me feel like I could be somebody. And, sometimes you just need somebody that believes in you. And if they believe in you, you believe in yourself. And so she was that person. And ultimately, because I believed in myself, others began to believe in me. So it's sort of an interesting journey there. And from there, we started touring on cruise ships and around the world. I had amazing adventures. I mean, Michael Jackson was in my audience one night because he loved magic, Oh yeah. And so he was in the audience one night, and I was, of course, incredibly nervous at that show. You've got one of the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the 3 or 4 greatest entertainers in the history of show business sitting in your audience in the third row with his entourage, I might add. And it's like, can I go on stage? Can I do this? But again, my wife said, we're going to go through this. We're going to make it happen. And we went out and did a good show. I don't know, it was my best show because I was distracted. I mean, how can you not be, right? Yeah, but anyway, that was a great experience. But throughout my career and my young career as a magician, there were many challenges. I mean, beyond just having famous people in the audience, sometimes I've had Princess Grace, Cary Grant in my audience. But beyond that, behind the scenes, it's not all magic. I mean, you have your interpersonal relationships. When you work together with someone 24/7, it's very challenging. I mean, you have the business, and when you're living on ships, you're in this cabin about this big. And so, everybody hears what you're doing all the time. And so it was very challenging in the personal sense of the word. Professionally, at sea, sometimes we'd have amazing storms, and we'd perform in the middle of those storms with windows breaking out and water rushing through the showroom. So, I mean, those were a different kind of challenge to performing and that. But also, as I say, the personal side was the difficulty. Eventually, my wife and I had 2 children, and they're wonderful kids. They're both teachers now, doing a fantastic job. And I might add, so many people are down on teachers right now. They're saying, well, they're not doing their job or something. Let me tell you, it's hard being online teaching and still reaching those kids. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. And I feel both my kids are doing great. They do, virtual school rooms, virtual activities. And so I just want to do a shout out to the teachers and tell them how proud I am of all of them, because there's been so much negative right now in the press, and it's so off base. The teachers are amazing. But in any case, I had a great, life with my first wife, but eventually it wore her down, because showbiz, it's a hard life. And so in the end, we parted ways. We're still very good friends, and I love her still to this day. And I appreciate everything she did for me, because without her, I wouldn't be what I am. I wouldn't have never made it, I don't believe, to the spot that I am now. So I always am thankful to her for that. But as I went along, those were some of the personal challenges, and some of the professional challenges, and some of the financial challenges. But the deal is this, it's like, I don't know if you probably watched some of the Rocky films, most people have. And Sid, one of my favorite things that Rocky ever said, and by the way, I had a chance to meet Sly a couple of years ago. I actually his brother opened for my show at a casino, because his brother has a music band, and he plays an instrument and sings. So in any case, one of my favorite quotes of all time is I'll do this like Rocky would do it, okay? He said, "One step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. That's how winning is done." And that's really how it's done, Sid. It's one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. That's how we succeed in this life. And that's how we have the determination, and we find that destination. And then we get there by using that determination. And so it's one step, one punch, one round. Don't look at the whole fight. Don't look at the whole thing. Just look at that one step to that opponent, look at that one punch, and look at that one round, and you'll eventually reach the solution and the outcome that you want. So as I went on, the transition into hypnosis was interesting too, because what happened was when I was in Asia on tour, I was on a ship in Asia for 4 years. And so during that time, I saw a lot of the trance ceremonies that were taking place in Asia and Malaysia. In Thailand, they have what's called the Kin J. And on the Kin J, what they do is they go into their temple, they go into a trance and accept, this is the story now, I'm not saying I prescribe to it or anything, but they accept their God into them. And then they, in this trance state, they put spears and spikes through their cheeks. They're like an inch in diameter. And they hang weights on those things. And then they put spikes through their tongue out like that. And then they walk through the streets for 24 hours in this trance state. At the end of the trance state, they return to the temple. They pull all these things out. And there's no blood, no marks, no damage. And it was really unbelievable. Now, I also saw in Indonesia what they call the horse ceremony or horse dance. They hypnotize someone into a trance and they become like a horse. And they actually eat grass off the ground with their teeth, and they get whipped with a leather whip. There's marks, really big marks. And then they eat glass light bulbs and chew them and swallow them. And there's no blood. And the marks, immediately when they're brought out of trance, the marks disappear within seconds. And so these demonstrations, being that I was an illusionist at that time and still am at one as well in part-time, it amazed me. I knew it wasn't magic. So it enticed me to come back to the States and learn hypnosis. So then I went to the Hypnotism Training Institute in Glendale, California, which no longer exists actually, because it's been, the owner, who is legendary, Gil Boyne, passed away many years ago. But he was my mentor. And that's how I learned to be a hypnotherapist. And I love to, I always love to help people and reach out to people. And so hypnosis is a natural extension for me of that. But beyond that, here's another thing. I went to college at age, late 40s, early 50s. I went back to college to get my degree in psychology because I wanted to learn more. My parents were from very meager beginnings. My mom grew up on a farm. My dad never got out of grade school. And so they didn't support college or didn't feel it was necessary in life because they just felt you went out and worked, you did your job and whatever. And my dad did very well with that. He became one of the top Chevy salesmen west of the Mississippi for many, many years. But back to the story that I'm telling. So I decided I always had a dream to be a college graduate. So I finally went to college. I finally got my degree. And I'm actually the first one of my generation in my family to get a college degree. And so that happened in my late 40s and early 50s. So it was doing that in the midst of a busy entertainment career was a big challenge, but I did it. And so then past that, I became a hypnotherapist. And along with it, it works very nicely because I do stage hypnosis performances as well. And I know a lot of people have a bad stigma about stage hypnotism, but truly, if you're well skilled, then what I look at it is it says the stage hypnosis show is actually a group therapy session because the people that come up are seeking release. So I help them find that release through the stage hypnosis show, and they leave feeling far better than they did when they came up. Plus, I'm very respectful to them. But now, currently, I'm with the Younger Medical Group, and that's in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And Dr. Jeff Unger is one of the top practitioners for diabetes medicine in the country. In fact, if you heard about Ozempic on TV, that Ozempic commercial, that is Dr. Unger. He brought that to market. So he likes to use alternate therapies, modalities of treatment, including acupressure, acupuncture, hypnotherapy. So he chose me because I actually had his daughter in one of my performances. He never believed in hypnosis before. After that performance, he knew it was real. And even a doctor was in that show too, because it was for a medical group and a friend of his. So that's how I connected with him. And that's why he invited me to be part of his medical group. And so that's what I currently do is work at the Younger Group, along with my shows and also my CovidNosis program to help people with issues from the pandemic.
Wow. Wow, that's quite a journey. So tell us more about hypnotherapy and the CovidNosis program, because during this pandemic, I mean,
Sure.
you've seen it's really hit people hard. And, so tell us about this program that you have.
Thank you, Sid. I also want to mention, because I didn't mention earlier, that I'm now remarried and my current wife is my biggest cheerleader and my biggest supporter. And her name's Susie. And I just want to do a shout out to my wife, Susie, because she's in Texas today. So anyway, but as far as CovidNosis, I designed this program because I realized with the COVID issue, Yes, we're getting vaccines. Yes, we're getting some treatments, but the psychological impact of it will go on for many decades. You know, people have had major stress put on them. Teachers, all kinds of people. And for instance, people in the entertainment industry, friends of mine, overnight, they lost everything they had worked for decades. And they haven't been stepping on stage again since March of last year. But there's other people in other industries in the same spot. And so I learned that with hypnosis, because it's such a rapid way of helping people, it's a very excellent modality to help treat them. So again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a clinical lay hypnotherapist. But the techniques we use, they're very rapid. So some of the issues that are coming out of the pandemic, the main issues are stress and anxiety, which you can imagine, because the distancing, worrying about catching it, all of these things, not being connected with your friends and family like you had been. The second one is sleep, because there's 5 basic fears we have in life. There's criticism, there's being unloved and rejection, there's sickness and aging, there's poverty, and there's death. But being unloved is a major one. But those 5 basically rule our lives. And so with this pandemic, all of those are coming into play with various different people for various different reasons. Hypnosis can deal with those. So again, sleep is the second one, helping sleep disorder, not getting enough rest, because we've all got on weird schedules because of being at home in lockdown. So I work with that. And then the next one, the final one that we work with is confidence building. And for many people, weight control combined with that, because we've all been sitting at home too much and eating too much because we haven't been physical and out in the public. So again, it's stress and anxiety, sleep disorder, and then confidence building with weight control. And those issues are critical. And hypnosis is a great way hypnosis is a great way to cure yourself. What people don't know is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I just help you to do it, but you're actually doing it. It's a natural God-given ability we all have to relax within us. And we all do it all the time. Sid, I'm sure you've had this happen. How many times have you been driving down the highway, going somewhere you know, and then you get there and say, how did I get here so quick? Have you had that one happen to you before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So like you said.
Yeah. So we all do it. We do it. But what I help people do is do it on demand. And as such, I can help you very rapidly. That's why the program is only 4 sessions, and they're only 1 hour each. The first one is just me visiting with you and getting to know you. And then the other 3 deal with those issues. And after every session, you get an audio download of self-hypnosis so you can continue to power up, teach yourself, and be able to continually use this throughout your life as a tool.
Man, that sounds awesome. You know, the fact that, like you said, you're helping people to do something that we already have within us, you know, and your example, I'm so glad that you talked about what you saw in Asia with the trance states first, because that gives a lot of context to what you're doing, you know, because it's a state of trance that you're helping people achieve, and that healing. Now, the 3 things that you help people with, what, matter of fact, go ahead and name those 3 things again.
Okay, so the first one is stress and anxiety. The second one is sleep disorders and issues. And the third one is a combination of confidence building, to be able to get back into society and do what we did as well as we did or better than we did before, combined with weight issues should they need that help.
Now, before the pandemic, were those same 3 things was what a lot of people were dealing with, and it was magnified in the pandemic, or was this just really something new?
Well, here's the thing, Sid. The core issues that I told you about, the criticism, the being unloved / rejection, the sickness and aging, the poverty and death, they're all issues we deal with throughout life. But what has happened is that the pandemic has put gasoline on those issues and heightened the fire, because it's made everything more immediate and more in front of our face. Plus, right now, because a lot of people are in lockdown in California, we have been since March last year. You have to have a lot of time to sit in a room and just think about yourself, what your life is about. So that ups it too. So yes, the pandemic has definitely made a whole new level of issues with those issues, actually.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, people have had time to sit with themselves and think about life. And there's a lot of people, once they sat down and thought about life, it hit them hard. It hit relationships hard. You know, uh, dealing. Some of the people that you're dealing with. What are some of the things that you're getting from them? What are they saying to you? If you can share some of it.
Well, I think what I found is a main point between everyone is that, as we were talking about, most of them have been so busy in their careers and lives that they've never ever just taken time to be in the moment. And I think that's really important. On my mom's tablet, God rest her soul, she had a saying. We put it on her tablet when she was buried. It says, "Live every day like it's your last." And I've really lived that way, because the thing is, every moment of our life is critical. Now, the problem is, what I found with most people is they tend to live in yesterday. And yesterday is over. It's over. Okay. We do need to acknowledge it, because we learn from what we've done in the past, but then you've got to let it go, because today is fleeting and tomorrow is almost here. So what we have to do is we have to find that tomorrow, and we have to create it right now, because right now becomes yesterday in just a few moments. So what I've seen with most of the people coming to me is they're really flooded with so much emotion that they had never really faced or dealt with in their lives. I had a client that I was working with in Florida last week, and there were some issues that she had never dealt with, because her life has been moving on. And we tend to want to push those things away. We tend to want to put them in a vault and never look at them again, because they're so hurtful to our lives. And like I say, many of those things stem from feeling unloved in the world. And so those issues go into our subconscious from when we're very young, and they never come out again, but they go around like a broken record, and they frame everything we do in our adult life. So what I've seen with a lot of people is, because they're now evaluating their past and their life and all the things that came along that road, and things they've never ever looked at or faced before, all these issues are coming like a floodgate that we discussed.
I've had other guests on to talk about the pandemic, and one of the things, the terms they use is reset. This is a reset for people. And like you said, when someone has that time to sit down and think about their life, that seems like it's a reset. Are you hearing something similar, or getting that same type of feeling?
Well, I think, Sid, you're correct on that, because it is a life reset. And I would say, too, there's been a lot of talk about negatives from the pandemic. There's been a lot of positives, because in the end, people going in and doing this reset through their subconscious, and reframing those episodes in their life in a positive, not a positive way. You never forget them. They're always with you. But it's just now, instead of looking at them how you respond to them as a youth or a young person, or whenever they happen, you now look at it from this part of your life, and you can say, I'm no longer that person, or I'm no longer under those people's control. And you reframe your subconscious mind with hypnosis, which is unique, because only through hypnosis can you reach the subconscious and get that critical factor of your mind aside, so you can reprogram. But through that process, it is a positive. Yes, you have to face these things. Yes, they're hurtful at that point, but then once they're released, it's a positive. So in many ways, we may come out with a much stronger society and much stronger people than we've ever had before in this country or in this world.
Wow. Yeah, and like I said, that is a positive that can definitely happen. Now, what are some of the things people think about hypnosis? Are is my impression, probably even myself, people are hesitant about being hypnotized? What, why do you think that is?
Well, Sid, it goes way, way back, and it has to do a lot with the media, actually. Back in about between World War I and World War II, about 1919 or so, there was a movie that came out in Germany called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And that film was about a hypnotist at a carnival that had a somnambulist in a casket on the stage. And he kept this guy hypnotized 24 hours a day. He would come out at the carnival, and at that point, he would predict things in the audience, in particular, people that were going to die on that night. Well, after the carnival, Caligari would send out the somnambulist to actually murder these people. So that was one of the first things people ever saw in a big screen movie about hypnosis. So Trilby was a book published in 1897, I believe, somewhere around that in France, which became Svengali, about mind controlling someone with hypnosis. Now, that comes all the way up to today, Sid. You may have seen a movie a couple years back called Get Out, which was a great movie. But the thing about that movie, again, portrayed the hypnotist. Yeah, it portrayed a hypnotist as evil, right? As evil and controlling someone. So people have a fear of losing control and being made to do things they don't want to do with hypnosis. The truth of the matter is those are all fictionalized. You will never do anything in a natural hypnotic state that you do not want to do because you're in control. Remember, what I mentioned is hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So they're hypnotized themselves. I'm just guiding them. But there is an exception to that rule. You may have heard of now there was a movie called Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington out a few years back, but that's not the one I'm referring to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm referring to the original Manchurian Candidate with Frank Sinatra. In that movie, a person was hypnotized and hypnotic drugs were used on that person, which broke down their morality, and then they became an assassin. Now, that is possible, and it does happen with Russian agents and, sleeper agents from Russia and China and all of that. But again, that takes hypnotic drugs along with hypnosis. So what you do in a hypnotherapy session, like with me or any other hypnotherapist, is totally a natural process, and you're in control of that process at all times. Therefore, there's nothing to fear. So once we educate people, and I'm so glad this question today, because once you educate people on that, they understand it can be a positive. I had a friend who created a t-shirt that said, hypnotherapy, because you have the right to change your own mind. And that says it all, really.
Wow. Yeah. And it's changing your mind on a deeper level. Like you said, you're reaching the subconscious. You're changing your programming. Wow. So
right.
As we're getting close to wrapping up, I want people to get a feel as to why is your CovidNosis program in particular so effective in dealing with the pandemic?
Well, first I'll reiterate, I'm not a medical person. I am a lay hypnotherapist, but I will say this about it. It's much more rapid using hypnotherapy than other modalities of treatment. For instance, psychiatrists, psychologists take many years to deal with issues. The beauty of hypnotherapy is if it's going to work for you, and if you're with a good hypnotherapist, you can take care of these issues in 3 hours. So 3 hours of your time spent to be able to make solutions to these problems. And that's amazing, right? I mean, if you go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, you're talking years, months and years. Now, I'm not speaking against that because you have to understand, I only work with mentally healthy people. I don't work with mentally ill people. Those psychologists and psychiatrists are well-skilled and they're medical experts for that. But for you, myself, many other people who are mentally well, the hypnotherapy is an amazing and very rapid tool. So the answer to your question is the rapidity at which I can help people and solve their issues or modify their issues is what makes it so good. And because of that, the price tag, I don't like to talk price, and I'm not going to mention prices here, but it's very reasonable because my goal is to help people, to steal money from people. So it's very reasonable in price, and it will definitely make a positive change. No matter what comes out of those 3 sessions, and the 4th being where we visit, no matter what comes out of them, something positive is going to change your life, whether you relax better, whether you sleep better, whether you lose weight, whether you feel more confident in yourself, whether one of those issues takes and you become better at those issues, you're going to get incredible benefit from it in a very brief time. How many people can you spend 4 hours with and make a major change in your life?
Yeah, that is awesome that you're able to achieve the results that you do in such a short period of time. Is a great alternative to what else is out there. And Mike, let everybody know how they can get in contact with you so that they can take a look at your program and get the help that they need in dealing with the pandemic situation.
Sure. Now, I know you'll have it in the notes below too, so folks, make sure to look at those notes. But also, my website is www.CovidNosis.com. Oh, excuse me, I said that wrong. CovidNosis.weebly.com. Let me say it one more time. Sorry, Sid. www.CovidNosis.weebly.com. And I will tell you this, I'm going to give my email to the folks. If the first 10 people that email me and put Sid Owsley or your show name in the subject matter title, I will send you a free self-hypnosis audio for relaxation. So here's my email. It's hypnomez.com. Again, make sure you put Sid's name in the subject line so I know you came from his show. I'm doing this especially for his listeners today.
Okay, and I put that I put your email hypnomezmer@hotmail.com in the comments, Mike.
Great.
It's been great having you on. It's such an interesting topic and skill that you have, and I really hope that people take a look at what you have going on. It's like I said, it's very interesting. People, like you said, they have hesitation, but I'm sure that with the proper education that you can give them, that they can get some good results out of the hypnotherapy.
And Sid, I want to say thank you for having me on. And I want to tell you, you have the mark of an excellent interviewer, just like the greats like Johnny Carson, Arsenio Hall. Many of them were great because they're good listeners. And in being good listeners, they're good interviewers. And you are definitely that. It's been an extreme pleasure being with you today.
I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much. I try to provide a platform for people to share their story. So it's been great having you on and listening to you share your story. And this is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast. The 3 Ds to success. Determination determines destination. Check out my website, sidowsley.com, where you can get your free gift about aligning your goals with your values. Because when you're going after that goal, you have to make sure that you are in alignment. That is something that is really inside of you that you're going after, not just some superficial material thing that you want that maybe is really not that important. You got to have a strong why, and pick up that free gift at sidowsley.com. Also check out my YouTube channel, the 3 Ds to success. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Have a great day. This is Sid Owsley, and I'm out.